We were talking about Deontay Wilder being a potential fight for Derek Chisora. I don't think that's going to be the case. Let's listen to young Master Hearn talking about Mr. Wilder.
For Anthony Joshua, 2 milestone anniversaries. Firstly, Povetkin, and then, of course, Daniel Dubois a year on. I can't quite believe how quickly that's gone. What is the latest? Have you spoke to him in the past week or so?
Yeah, I spoke to him non-stop. I mean, look, he's back training. He's going into a few training camps just to get some experience and, you know, some time in the training camp before he enters his own. February is still the plan very much. You know, my preference is a fight in Africa. We've had a couple of approaches. I think that would be a historic moment for him. But that's the fight. Lock it in for February. We'll be doing that over the next couple of weeks. And then the big one, back end of the summer. You know, 2026 is going to be a massive year for AJ.
What about Dave Allen beats Makhmudov and then calls out AJ in the ring, and then that's the comeback fight for Joshua?
Maybe. I mean, look, you know, if Dave Allen beats Makhmudov, he's going to put himself in line for some huge fights. I like the Wilder fight, personally. We've reached out to Shelley Finkel to talk about that. But let's see what happens October 11th. Packed out Sheffield Arena. Massive night for Dave Allen. If he gets the job done, he's going to waltz into a massive fight.
I mean, I think it's fair to say you can't meet Dave Allen and not like him. And you can't like this regeneration of Dave Allen and the opportunities he's now creating for himself. I mean, obviously, we saw some of the shine come off Makhmudov when Ajit Kabayel did a number on him about 18 months ago. Is this a good move for Dave to take this fight? He could have gone down the British title route, which he spoke about wanting to do, and he spoke about how meaningful that was to him because that's what he wanted to do for his father. Do you like this fight for Dave, both of you?
I'd have liked to have seen him gone down the British title route. I think it would have been a great achievement for him had he have won that. As you said, it's impossible not to like him when you see him. It's impossible not to like him when you listen to how he's been, how he's lived, his attitude, his outlook on life. But for me, he's got to be really careful. And I think anyone involved with Dave Allen's got to match him really carefully and do it in a smart way.
Like we said about Derek earlier on, I think I looked at Dave probably 3 years ago and thought, you should jack in. You're getting hit too often. It's great talking about it when you're doing a game. It's 5-10 years down the line, you think you should have walked out 3 or 4 fights before you did. I think Dave, again, if it's
but he's a different mindset now, Johnny, isn't he? I mean, if you listen to him speak, and he hooks up with Jamie, and Jamie's always been of the mindset that if he trains properly, he can actually have a greater ceiling than he's ever allowed himself to have.
If it's about the money, I get it, but he wants to, and he lives modestly with his family. But I think
it's about the money, John, isn't it? It's about the money. But
you know what? Go down the British title route. Get that to say, I've done that. That's in the records. I don't want to be in a record book saying, Dave Allen, he was a tough fighter. Yeah. Be a former British champion, you know, because there's strong possibility that could come about. And that's how...
He's still being paid decently for them title fights as well, wouldn't he, against the likes of Fraser Clark or Wardley or whoever, Adelaide, whoever's around the British title.
And Davis proved that if once he goes... And gets in with anybody that's just a bit beyond him, they'll get the better of him. But the young guns that are coming through...
What do you think of Makhmudov? I mean, once upon a time he was just, you know, he wasn't going to win any beauty competitions, was he? You know, in terms of scare the living people just by looking at him. But he got found out by Ajit Kabayel. Do you think that Dave has gotten a little bit drunk on the job that he did on Johnny Fisher in both fights, by the way, and his grasp is going to be exceeding his reach? Or is he catching someone that looks on paper like a good...
Depends on how much of that Makhmudov has got.
Right.
Because Dave will wear you down, he'll stick to you like glue, and he'll stay at one level, at one pace all the way through. And he's not got an up pace or a down pace. So if Mahmoud's heart is weak, Dave will do him through. But if his heart's strong and he still thinks he's got a little bit, you know, I think Dave comes off second place.
Do you?
Yeah.
If you're Shelley Finkel or Deontay Wilder, are you looking around? I know we've discussed the possibility of where this is going to land with Wilder. Would you be rather looking at Chisora or Dave Allen, or would you, in the back of your mind, still think there's an opportunity for Anthony Joshua to come out of the ether?
If I was Shelley Finkel, I would understand that Wilder still is a name he can sell.
Yeah.
So they've got to be smart about who do you put him in with and risk him losing to or beating. So now he wants to make as much money out of this version of Wilder that's left.
Yeah.
So why go for somebody that's down there and you get paid X amount where you can get paid a ton load there? So I'd wait and be smart about who he picks to put him in with.
I think also if you look at Deontay Wilder, his ego has always outranked his ability, and he's had some unbelievable achievements. He's made a lot of money and every successful, but he won't be looking at the people like Dave Allen, with all due respect. It's Deontay Wilder. You know, he's going to be looking at Joshua or whoever's at the top, and he's going to want the best, and that's it.
Where are you on Anthony Joshua? I mean, and where he is at this stage in his career, Johnny. I mean, I've sort of said to myself, and I said it out loud for what my opinion's worth, I think that Anthony doesn't need to do anything. I was talking to Michael Jarman the other day about whether he faults the scarecrow, Jake Paul, and I said to him, it doesn't really matter if he can get paid 300 million quid. People are not going to remember that on Anthony Joshua's career. He'll remember it in his bank balance in 3 or 4 years' time, but no one will diminish him for fighting this fella just because there's an opportunity to do so. But I also think, as a mainstream fighter, I was one of the few voices in the room that said I didn't think Jermaine Franklin, I didn't think Robert Helenius, I didn't think Otto Wallin, and I didn't think Francis Ngannou proved the point that Anthony Joshua had regained his poise and was going to be able to come across it when a live one stuck it on him, which proved to be the case, whether it was bad tactics from whoever or whether it was just a perfect fight.
Simon, you were spot on. I think, first of all, I don't think Jake Paul was ever going to happen.
No, I hope it doesn't.
I don't think it was ever going to happen. Even when Jake Paul was shouting out and Eddie kind of like propped it up.
It shouldn't, by the way.
It was never ever going to happen. Number one. Number two, I think for Anthony Joshua, coming from a place of love, I think Anthony Joshua has got nothing else to prove in this game, and he should rather walk away than hang about and wait for someone to turn him over. It's either him and Tyson Fury, which we're all sick of. Is it happening or isn't happening? Or just walk out of it. He's a very comfortable, wealthy man.
That already happened though, didn't he? He did get turned over, and that's the thing. I felt 18 months earlier he would have walked right through Dubois and he would have had too much for him. And he got in that fight.
Do you?
I do believe that.
18 months earlier?
And I think he got in that fight, maybe 2 years earlier, but he got in that fight, and for me it was one fighting on nerves.
What, pre the second loss to Usyk or post the second loss
before
to Usyk?
Before
right.
Usyk.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Before Usyk. Like
a lot of water's travelled under the bridge since
then,
of
course, but he got in that fight, and for me it looked like someone just fighting on ego, like I'm Anthony Joshua, and he's had an unbelievable career.
He walked in the ring like Elvis.
He walked in the ring like as if it was already a foregone conclusion. You had someone young and hungry, but who was fighting on nerves, which is going to fight a lot harder early, and I felt like he did get turned over, and I think that's what
I wouldn't want to see Anthony Joshua leave his career like that. You know, and that could possibly happen with whoever they put him in with now. Whoever they put him in with, that could happen. So for Anthony Joshua to say, I'm done, I'm all right, I'll take the flight, I get the stick, you know, and it hurts him when people say good or bad about him, it hurts him. Walk away from it. He's all right, he's good. And he's got a business empire that'll work healthily for him.
He's not going to run out of a quid or two. It's generational wealth that he's managed to create for himself and deserves. What about the people that he's got around him? I mean, I like Ben Davidson. I've had debates about how effective a coach he is without necessarily being in a position to be in that much credibility, and questioned the commentary that we all listen to that Shane McGuigan pulled apart about roll the dice. Where are you, Johnny, in the people that Anthony's got around him that help him, whoever they may be?
Well, I probably think maybe 5% out of 100 of those people are ones that dare tell him how it is and give him straight talk, give him truth talk. The rest of them, I think they'll tell him what he wants to hear because they want to keep themselves in a job.
Because they monetize themselves through it.
Yeah, they want to keep themselves in a job, and sometimes, you know, it's and AJ will probably look at that and think, no, that's rubbish. In reality, really look at the people around you. Look at what's happened to your career. Look at where you are, and think, right, are you going to tell me what's best for me or what's best for us? And I think with Anthony Joshua, I think he's surrounded by a majority of the people that are surrounded him are just not telling him how it is.
But do you think
he's stopped learning?
But do you not think Anthony is now a much maturer man? He will have surely he has a bullshit. Right, everyone knows the truth. I've known the truth in my life and things when I've made mistakes. And you wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you look in the mirror and you know the truth, don't you? Right? Anthony Joshua will know the truth about himself. He'll know what his motivations are. He'll know what
his fears are. He'll know what his fears are.
He'll know what his fears are. Yeah. So won't he be able to assess those that are living vicariously through him, those that are really just blowing smoke up because he represents another opportunity economically for another spin of the wheel? Do you think he can't see that, John?
You know what? He wants to be wary of the ones that are closest to him, because the ones that the people around him that are close enough to tell him advice that suits him are probably being pushed away indirectly from the ones that are closest to him. So those ones that are talking to him, you don't want that, you want this. People will try and manipulate situations, in my opinion, try and manipulate situations that suit themselves.
They're best at
not on this specific issue, but you get that in life. in boxing and sport especially,
it's even worse,
you can get what you want or what you need, and what you need sometimes isn't what most of the time is not what you want. And when you're at that stage in your career, you need people around you who are going to tell you what you need to hear, and sometimes it will cause risk.
Is it a tendency of boxers, though, or the sport particularly, to have people that say things that effectively... Because ultimately, I would imagine in this sport, more than any other sport, and obviously my background was football, people need to be positively reinforced, positively encouraged, because if you tell people things that are negative, you take away their ability to overcome things. But isn't it part of the... You know, I've spent in the last couple of years, and you've laughed at some of the things I've said, what I think is a version of the truth, and it comes up against people that get very thin skins very quickly. Isn't this a byproduct of the industry itself, where people only want to hear news and they only want to hear what they want to hear, and in life people don't want to hear the truth because it actually doesn't suit them very much?
Possibly. Listen, AJ will have a lot of family members around him working in 258, working in his management company, but ultimately he is the boss. Now, family members are usually the ones that will tell you straight and give it to you straight, because
Should do, yeah.
That's how it is. But as you said about, like, some people having thick skins, so, like, some people just think that they shouldn't be getting criticised, full stop. Some people will welcome criticism and will try and correct it and try and fix it. Every person's different, and I think that's where we all go wrong sometimes. Like, there's 4 brothers in my house, and we're all totally different people. And what works for me wouldn't work for the next one, what works for the next one wouldn't work for him. But with AJ, I think he's got people around him and he values loyalty, and he's got a lot of loyal people that are there working for him and with him. I hope that the right people are telling him the right things at the right time. But
do you think he's surrounded by enough good voices?
It's all on him.
50-50.
50-50.
50-50. I do think that some of the decisions that are being made, in my opinion, some of them, it's great to be wise after the event.
Always.
So we don't know what happens behind closed doors. We don't know what AJ's like behind closed doors. We know the persona that he gives us up front. But from the outside looking in, it just looks like the people that should be there for his best interest, I think they just get eliminated one at a time. And there's probably very few around him that are there for AJ's best interest, not theirs.
I think I'm inclined to agree with you. This week we heard a little utterance from Alexander Usyk replying to a video sent by Sideshow Bob, Jake Paul. Alexander Usyk says, "Soon I'll close the book on boxing, and after that I'll be waiting for you in a cage. Let's see if you've got the balls or just hunger for hype." When do you think that we will see Usyk close the book on boxing?
Good question. I don't know. Me personally, we were talking about this recently. I would have retired in the ring after that last fight. He's got nothing.
I thought he would, actually. I thought
he may have, but then, listen, I'm one of them fighters. If I made the amount of money he made in one fight alone, I probably would struggle to get out of bed again, because at the end of your career, it becomes a job. If he can go and make that lump of money again in another fight, why wouldn't he do it?
But who against?
Who? I totally agree.
He'll look at it and think, who am I going to make this kind of money against? So until someone comes along and you're going to offer me this kind of money, I'll just sit by the way.
Who is there? I mean, what's he fighting for? Is he waiting for an opportunity to potentially fight on home soil, so he comes back to the Ukraine and fights there in a nation that might have actually alighted upon peace and is in a different situation? Do you think that's part of his motivation?
There's no big enough characters that you would put in there realistically think they'd give him hellfire. I know they're talking about putting him with Moses.
Yeah.
And Moses is thinking that could probably happen within a year. From Usyk's point of view, he's thinking, am I going to wait around long enough for this kid to arrive? Or shall I just do it at my own pace? I don't think there's anybody that generates the kind of money that he wants, he needs, he deserves to actually for him to hang about. So it wouldn't surprise me if he had one more farewell fight at home. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
It'd be interesting to see, because I thought there was a point, and maybe it's because I'm an idealist and I wish for the best things, because I remember reading the newspaper article that Alexander Usyk did with the Mail, which was a brilliant article talking about the opportunity that Anthony Joshua afforded him and how that had catapulted him and created a landscape that Joshua didn't need to give it to him. We know Joshua took that fight because he thought it was the right time to take Usyk and thought we could win it. It wasn't a charitable situation, but he was so magnanimous in it about how his chance had been given by Anthony Joshua. He talked about everything that has got now has come from that particular tree, that fruit of that tree. And I thought that he might have extended the same courtesy to Joseph Parker, because Joseph Parker's been sitting around with an opportunity. He was unfortunate to have lost the fight against Daniel Dubois because Daniel wasn't well. He's now, as a result of Daniel losing that particular fight, has gone back into a holding pattern. The WBO belt, Alexander's, playing hide and seek with his injury and seemingly not available for Joseph, so he had to take a fight against Fabio Wardley. I mean...
Business.
Yeah.
Does it generate
But
enough
where's the
money?
money? I don't think the money... As much as I think Usyk is the best fighter around, the money's not in the room for Usyk. The money be in the room for Fury. The money be in the room for Joshua.
Yeah.
The only money that's in the room...
Maybe he's waiting for the likes of somebody to create some scenario where AJ puts himself off, Fury puts himself, because they're the only two dance partners where he gets that kind of money he wants. Otherwise, I don't think the money's enough money's in the Parker fight.
No. We said before about Wilder, but I wouldn't want to see that.
But the great fight is Caballero, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the great fight.
Caballero, who's going to want to fight Caballero when he's not really as known? That's what I mean. Unless that's going to be in the Ukraine or near where he fought Dubai in Roslav in Poland, where there's a lot of Ukrainian people living there, then it's not really going to sell, I don't think.
Where are we, before we close the subject off on heavyweights, where are we with Tyson Fury, Johnny? And what he's talked about retiring again. He's talked about, I'm definitely out. We get these mixed messages. We all know there's a distinct possibility he's going to land back in the ring with Anthony Joshua at some point. Are you invested still in wanting to see Tyson Fury? Did we see Tyson Fury vanquished in those two fights? He makes up a story in an alternate universe that he won both of those fights.
I think Tyson Fury will fight again. I think he's just had a rest. He's not quit. I think he's getting itchy feet or whatever it is. Against Anthony Joshua, will it happen? I've just given up. I've given up on even romantic.
There's no trilogy with Usyk, is there?
Yeah, not at all, not at all. I've just given up on the idea of it. Common sense would tell you, Eddie and Frank will need to get in a room. Common sense would tell you, get these two together, because neither of them can afford a loss against anybody else. And the one that's probably more inclined to lose out of the two of them is probably AJ. So it devalues the fight completely.
Yeah. So
common sense would get these two in the ring together. Don't think about getting a fight, Ray or fight, but get them in together, because after that, that's when the chips will all change.
Time will tell.